Hello guys, one more time. Sorry for this. I'm gonna try now to get Dan over. Okay. Alright, sorry guys. We're all very doing like things in an experimental way, so sorry if there are some difficulties. Right, I'm gonna try to have Dan. Definitely gonna work right now. Yes. How you doing?
I'm well, mate. I'm very well. Good to
Oh,
see you now, properly.
my pleasure. And you know, it's Instagram is a very funny platform for many reasons. Like you're trying to do things with Instagram, and Instagram automatically switch like things in a completely different way. So what you had to do is just like, if you were Instagram, what would you do? That's how it works.
Oh God, don't ask me that. Honestly, I mean, look at this lockdown here. You can tell that clearly in terms of trends. I'm the opposite of you. You were saying that your girlfriend had cut yours, and by the way, you're going to be hearing about that later. Yeah, that is quite a special effort, though. I'm
Oh,
the opposite. My girlfriend, honestly, I sleep with one eye open because I think she's going to attack me with some scissors. I mean, it's getting out of control.
oh well, you look.
Uh, Here we go.
You are absolutely stunning. I'm telling you, it's always a pleasure to see you as well.
Thank you, mate. You too. And look at you, though. I mean, this is great. I've just been watching you do the intro and everything. This is your calling, buddy. You're so pro at it.
What do you think? Really? Do you think
Yeah,
it works?
I think it's really good. I mean, including the sort of like slightly quasi health spa meditation music in the background. I love it. It's wonderful. I just wish my background was colorful as yours, and mine just goes straight to my ceiling. But
You know,
you're doing an excellent job, man.
you got some special cards to play as well, because when you send me your bio and things, I was checking like Chinese television. I mean, do you want to speak about that right now, or do you want to wait a bit more?
Mate, yeah, absolutely. I know it's as weird to me as it is to you. But as I sort of mentioned in my bio, but I mean, for those that don't know, so I am from London, but I lived 10 glorious years in Australia.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of where I saw the light for craft beer. I was working in advertising. I wasn't particularly happy, but I was surrounded by all these new and exciting different beers, and it kind of led me down the path to where I am now.
Nice.
But when I came back and I started working at Kill the Cat, so you know, repping for Kill the Cat, I can't even work out my angles here, but I've got it on. I'm branded. And when I came back, it was probably in literally like the first month I'd been back, and I was onboarding Milan, who my lovely Aussie, dearly departed, he's gone back to Oz now, manager. It was probably either his first day or his second day. And this absolutely gorgeous Chinese lady just walks into the shop, and we're on Brick Lane. We're used to seeing kind of weird things going on and cameras and people doing interesting stuff. So I guess we were kind of, you know, just she just walked in like to camera, you know, continued, didn't say anything. She had like two cameras on her, like people following her around, and just started looking at the beers. And she ended up asking a few questions. She bought a few beers. Obviously, now actually having I'll send you the link. It's still live on Chinese websites. This link, it's so cringy, but she walks out with a lot of beers, and that was it. And this Christmas that's just been,
Yeah, yeah.
I get a Chinese gentleman walking in to the bar. He sits down, he has a beer, and he goes, "So this is the place?" I'm like, well, that's nice of you to say, but you know, you might have to be a bit more specific about that. And he says, no, I've come from China, and did you know you were on Chinese TV? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, no, you were on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on one of the TV channels over there. I don't think it was CCTV, but it was one of them. And he basically, it turned out he followed this girl. He was a little bit infatuated with her, I think. He basically did a beer pilgrimage to Kill the Cat based off this.
Wow.
And as I said, he then showed me photos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then, like, I think I've got the video, and I was mortified. I sounded so Australian. But just to give you two pieces of genius, I've got some great Chinese friends of mine that come into the Cat very often and bring me unbelievable beers. Shout out to Sativa and John if you're watching. and they translated for me, and they said that they referred to me as the pink salesmaster
Oh, wow.
because I was wearing a pink top, and they also thought that Milan was my son. Which, given that we're only like 6 years, well, no, actually, that's a complete lie. We're a little bit further than that. But given that we're of similar ages, it led me to have a good hard look at myself, at least for a couple of days. But no, it's amazing. I mean, you know, even on a quiet day, you're thinking if no one's watching in China of 1 billion people, and we probably had a cool, you know, 2 or 3 million watch that.
You're going to receive more and more and more tourists from China saying probably things to you, I'm sure.
I know. Well, that's it. Well, you know how Cameron, probably one of the best things he did for like Green King was having a pint with Xi Jinping. I think we need to start having some Kill the Cat branded lager.
I'm telling
to China maybe. But yeah, I mean, that's just the way of Brick Lane. It's one of the things that I love working about there. You're never quite sure what's going to happen.
What kind of beers they were watching like that day? Do you remember if they bought something as well?
They did. She spent a fair bit to the extent that actually they sort of made a big point of how heavy the bag was when she walked out. But they bought some sours. We have our bomber section, which is to the right of our taps, and they kind of went around and asked a few questions. But I think with the translation barrier, perhaps, like I think they were just doing what a lot of people quite naturally do, which is that one looks good.
Yeah,
take that. That one looks interesting. I'll have a go at that. But yeah, no, it was an amazing experience and hilarious to see it played back to me. Almost 2 years later.
I love. Maybe they managed to have like a specific idea about Brick Lane as well. They must have think like, hold on a second, there is a cereal and weird milk shop over there. There are some of the most amazing record shop in here. This guy have a bottle shop with this name, then definitely there is an incredible story behind. And I have to be honest with you, I never ask, what's the story behind?
We just hate cats.
Oh.
No. Honestly, I've started. That's my like stock in trade answer, because when you've got any business which has the word kill in it, it can be quite of a Marmite kind of thing. And the guys, so I'm the general manager, but there's 2 owners that are Wes and Phil, and they have a grown-up job, which is managing their own branding agency and design agency called D Studio. Probably do a little bit of a shout out to them, and they. And so they saw, I guess what really got me interested in Kill the Cat in the first place was their approach to beer. They saw that as a consumer, it's particularly if you've been, just getting into the scene, when you walk into some of these magnificent bottle shops and it's just wall to wall cans and bottles and styles and words and all different kind of info, you can have that kind of, deer in the headlights, rabbit in the headlights kind of look. So Kill the Cat realized that actually rather than stocking beers by style or by country or by strength, they do it by how curious you were. So, there's an expression in English, which is curiosity killed the cat.
Yep.
The bit that most people don't know is there's a second stanza, which is, but satisfaction brought it back. So we're about beer curiosity. So I think celebrating that. And yeah, so when you walk into our store, we've got our different cat sections. Everything's kind of from light to dark and from really easy drinking to crazy and weird, which, obviously, is where we'd be having this hopping frog that we're drinking in a minute. But yeah.
When I had in mind, I want to just be concentrate on my beers. I had few people in mind, but you were almost like above everyone else. You were like my perfect totem for doing something like that. And that's why I really wanted to go against trend, against everything, and probably go for the only beer I would never buy if it was for the label. Because, I mean, what are we talking about? It's like a 90s front Asian, a restaurant somewhere like in central Italy in a small town. And I'll be like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, there's some interesting, there's some flow diagrams going on in this. there's definitely, I think, like some stock image library is going to be wanting some royalties for the selection of spices that are on here. But you know, there is beauty in the arcane and the different and the weird. I mean, you know, obviously we like to put our best foot forward in terms of design and making things look beautiful. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's a weird beer, so why wouldn't you have a weird and slightly odd label?
Yeah, and please, I don't want to start, this new trend on having the first sip of beer after 15 minutes from the live. So please, let's crack on with that, and so we can manage to have a similar, probably, expression as well when we're going through it. So as a recap, guys, I'm here with Daniel from Kill the Cat, one of the through beer legends in the city of London. And we are having trying to understand how this beautiful coconut curry beer from Hopping Frog will taste like. So
now, what temperature is yours at? Because when you've got these kind of adjunct heavy beers, I often find that, like, if it's too cold, you won't really start to notice some of the things they mention on the label until you get a little bit further through. And whether that's like planted in your head or whether, but I do think temperature's part of it. Because what's your initial thought? I mean, there's definitely spice, there's definitely cumin in there, like a kind of curryish. I don't get a lot of coconut. I don't think, oh yeah, we go, we'll both. I mean, I always find it's one of those things, right? Like, I always get nervous when people put allusions to the ingredients or the flavor in the title or the name of the beer. You know, they say it's going to be a juicy IPA. It invariably isn't as juicy as it could have been. Or like a hazy, and then you're like, well, I can almost see through this. So, yeah, when you say coconut curry beer, my first impression is I don't get a lot of coconut on there. I get kind of spicy. I get coriander seed.
Yeah, I will have a lot more like a blanche or a saison kind of nose in here, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's that little pepperiness for sure. I don't think it's like a yeast pepperiness that you'd get from a saison, like from that sort of phenolic style. But I think there's definitely like some additions that are making it quite spicy and earthy.
Do you have like can you taste a bit of hot test as well? Like it's kind of.
So I'm a chili tragic. I'm growing my own chocolate habaneros at the moment, so I'm really bad with spices in beer unless they're like insanely potent.
This thin, very thin.
But give me time. I'm still trying to find the coconut. I mean, it smells like, you know, it smells like when you get the green curry pastes. It has that spiciness. It has the
exactly, yes.
I think if I'm being posh, I think there's like galangal, which is like the sort of ginger. The paste, that sort of gingery top note, and then I think there's definitely like cumin and coriander in this.
I wouldn't expect this cloudy, and I wouldn't expect this dark as well somehow, because I don't know what they put in terms of what did they use for as a malt base. Probably
it's got quite a rich kind of malt sweetness.
Yes.
I guess they probably were like, well, if we're going to add a lot of savory, earthy notes, but it does actually, it finishes sweeter than I thought it would. For a 7.3% beer, it's still got a little bit of sweetness, which I guess against a lot of those savory, earthy, slightly peppery notes is not a bad. Like if you brewed this like a more traditional saison, and then like a saison, you'd be going, there's just too much spicy and earthiness going on here. I think Get the curry. Can you get the coconut though? I know I keep going back to this.
I do have just a bit of creaminess, almost like if I was drinking something with sabro, which is not super coconut, but like creamy mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Like,
you like Yeah. Oh man, I know. I think I'm on my. It's like that. It's that pina colada kind of slightly taste. You know, it's definitely another Marmite hop. But you know, the thing about this is actually that it's, whilst I wouldn't say I'd necessarily, if you handed me a pint of this, I think it's fairly easy drinking.
Yep.
Not too bad. I think, and this is one of the things actually that when we talk about weird beers and, you know, not that you could really call it a style, but the drinkability often suffers, you know, for the the cause of making it weird.
Yep.
I think a lot of weird beers, you know, when you have them, you go, yeah, that's interesting, that's good, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be rushing back and having another one.
You know, like there are some examples like the tzatziki sour from you know, Manhattan now in these days, Hobbit. Like,
But yeah,
with that, it's like it's not your traditional beer, but then at the end of the day, you can still put it into the big umbrella sour term.
yeah. I mean, firstly, what a magnificent beer that is. So weird, shouldn't work on a number of levels. I think that's a perfect example of a great weird beer that, particularly if you like, you know, that taste, you could probably have 3 or 4 of those quite comfortably.
Yeah.
You know, it's not at all cloying. It's got that sharpness. It's got that little bit of acidity. It's, you know, I love that beer. It's you're absolutely right. There was a beer in Australia when and it was one of the first sort of weird beers that I came across that people weren't just dismissing as a stunt, and they were saying this is a great beer. And it was by a brewery called Bacchus, who are in the Gold Coast, and it was a peanut brittle gosa. And you're reading that and going, no, that's going to be gross. Like, you know, just sourness, salt. But as you said, like when you're looking at complementary flavorings, that saltiness of the gosa, the saltiness of the peanut brittle, that savoriness and that sweetness of the peanut, and that kind of almost peanut husky savoriness really played off against that tartness of the gosa. It's a phenomenal beer. I've been trying to get it over here, and I know Ross Kendrick, who's the head brewer there, he was at London Craft Beer Fest, and I pretty much assaulted him to try and get him to send some.
That beer, right?
Yeah, but I guess that's the thing, right? As I know with so many Australian beers, unfortunately, you know, they don't travel well. It's such a long way to go, and if you air freight them, then you're expecting people to start paying £15-20 a bottle for stuff. So it can. But yeah.
What do you overall? How much? What would you give to this beer? The you know, an acclamation of being one of the weirdest and well-made beer in the same. You try it, considering probably has been on the shelves for a bit as well.
Yeah.
You know.
That was what I was going to say next. I think if you had this poured draft fresh from the brewery, I think I can imagine it being quite a different animal. Yeah, really popping. It's there, and obviously with repetition, it's lingering more and more. But I'm still, yeah, you know, I mean, that's one of the great things about Thai food, right? It just has those fresh bursts of flavor that really is so evocative. And I think with this, it's like, it's there or thereabouts. It interests me in the mind, but it doesn't necessarily grab at my little heartstrings, I think is probably what I'd say. And for 7.3, like it's maybe a little bit thin, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had, this is really bad of me actually, I haven't had a whole heap of Flopping Frog beers. I know they make some fabulous ones. I think that's the thing. Would I have another one of these? I don't know. Probably not. But do I, as with many of these weird beers, do I applaud the fact that they've tried it? Yes. Again, I don't want to keep banging on about Australia, but I remember that where I worked, which is a place called Bucket Boys in Marrickville, in the inner west of Sydney, which was kind of the mecca of brewing in Sydney. They were famous for all the banh mi, the Vietnamese pork roll.
Ooh.
And there was Batch Brewing, who were a part of that little clique, and they made for a beer festival a very spicy banh mi beer, and I really loved it. It was literally like it was so fresh and so full of like life that it was you couldn't say no to another sip.
You have banh mi.
Banh mi, yeah, exactly. And I would probably say that one had it over this one.
Right.
I know it's a different thing, but like, you know, in terms of those flavor profiles are fairly similar.
Would you get something similar to this in your shop? And if you would, do you normally stock like interesting, unusual type of beers, like for example this?
Of course, absolutely. I think you know, one of the things that I love about beer is the variety, and whether that variety is born out of history and people doing things with what they have at a time that is appropriate and right for them to use them, or whether it's people just, getting a bit pissed in a pub and going, I wonder what this would be like. That spirit of discovery and a kind of like pushing the boundaries is very much craft. I think a lot of people sort of bag out. That's a very Australian expression. A lot of people sort of take the piss out of big breweries, and big beer, and fair enough. There is a lot that they do that is potentially, very, very uncraft. But I think consistency is what they're after. They're feats of engineering, whereas craft beer is flights of fancy. And I think one of the hardest things when I talk to brewers and craft is just nailing it and getting it right every time. But we do have many different types of those kind of weird beers. We have them in our Cat 3 section.
Right.
Immediately when I think of weird beers, the weirdest beer that I've ever seen, and of course we were going to talk about them at some point, was Omnipolo or Omnipolo, however I found out recently that Fennec was influenced by Breaking Bad, I think is right, when he called, like, Puerto Manos, when he called it Omnipollo. Tell me if I'm being wrong, all the nerds down here. No. But I think that's true, so I think we should call it Omnipollo, but it just sounds a bit weird. Omnipollo. And we had a Saison. You were saying that this kind of reminds you of a Saison. So I, as you may or may not, Brett Saisons are my effing jam. I love them so much. I bore people to death about Saisons all the time. And we had a beer from them. I can't remember the name. I should have probably looked it up. But it was a Saison, so they said, that was brewed with jam, cheese, and croissants. Like actual croissants that they put in the mashed, and that was a weird beer. It wasn't disgusting. I didn't throw it away. There's a big difference between weird and badly made. Some of the weirdest beers you have are the ones, particularly when you're judging, home brewing and stuff, are the ones that didn't mean for them to be like that. They just. But also some of the most magical beers as well, to be fair. But that was I always remember that one and going, I don't know about this. I love the fact that people like Omnipolo exist in the beer community, and I think that they're always pushing things and trying things differently. But that one was one where even I got a bit like my dad going, I don't know if that's beer. I don't know. That doesn't seem. It's not very beer, that one. But yeah.
This year, what was the name? The beer conference, the brewer conference in central London. So there were many people into our talking panel. There was as well, like Gabe from Brooklyn, and I saw Claire in here. So all good friends of us. Mm-hmm. And there was from Omnipollo, and he was chatting about what he's doing and what is the process on, creating beers into their brewery, like why they actually take burgers and burger bun and chuck it in mash. And you were seeing people just being like, what?
Yeah.
Why? First question is always why? And second question it will be probably how this beer gonna taste like,
Yeah.
And places like you definitely, dealing with this type of curiosity. So my question is, if I'm jumping to the place and we're having a conversation about beer and everything, would you be interested, or would you be curious to see my reaction approaching me with a mad beer, or you wouldn't do it the first time, for example?
I think that's it, right? Like, without being too political about it, everyone's on their little beer journey. And rather than kind of foisting particular types of beers on people, it's amazing what we love. And sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, I know, but what we love is if people come into the shop and they say, oh, I want you to recommend me a beer, and you say, quite understandably, what do you normally drink? Whatever they say, you're probably then going to go, okay, I've got a really good one of this. And then that's it, and then they'll go, oh yeah, this is a really good style, or oh, I wasn't so sure about it, I prefer it this way or that. But what we try and say is, like, how are you feeling? Like, are you feeling like you want to try something different? or are you feeling like you want to, you know, stay safe in your wheelhouse? You know, so I think it depends. Obviously, if someone came in and they said, I said, what's your favorite beer? And they said, oh, you know, Beavertown Gamma Ray.
Yep.
I'm probably not going to reach for the jam croissant and cheese saison first up. Maybe their third one, but not the first up one. So I think that's it. You know, it depends where people are in their journey. You obviously don't want to put people off, and some of these more, let's say, eccentric beers can be quite pricey as well. You know, whether they're using more expensive ingredients or whether the brewing process itself was a real labor of love, because, you know, the beer in itself is a bit of a Frankenstein, and you have to really kind of, you know, make it work. So yeah, but in terms of the people that buy those beers, as I said, you know, I love turning people on to different beers, you know, and I would never ever walk into the territories of gender or stereotypes about different types of people. But certainly what I particularly like doing is, you know, when I work for breweries, you'd see it week in, week out. You'd see husband and wives coming in, and the husband would start doing this, and they'd be like, oh yeah, what's the hoppiest, bitterest, strongest, impiest thing you've got? And look at the lovely lady, and they'd be there in the background, and you know, they'd say, oh no, I don't like beer. And that when I hear that, I'm like, yes, you do. You just haven't had the beer that's right for you yet. You know, like, and what they quite often what people mean by that is, I don't like the lager my dad used to give me, or I don't like the shit. I shouldn't swear. The terrible experiences that maybe they've had, you know, in the past. And nothing makes me happier when I give people like a sour beer or something that is just totally outside of that wheelhouse of like a standard lager or a Stella or whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
Eyes light up and do it. But that said, you know, you can still, even the nerdiest of beer nerds, you can still rock their world by showing them something that they've never had before. So, yeah.
Mother Kelly's as well, it was beautiful because there were many people with an interesting level of confidence in how much they were into their beers and the curiosity, the beer and everything. And I was just like, you know, try this. And I immediately understood if they were curious about new things and if you were able to play with them in a different way, in a longer way. But if we would love to define what beer is when it's weird, strange, or unusual, how would you describe this beer? Like, can you find almost like a disclaimer that express what a weird beer is?
Yeah. Well, I think what's weird, I guess, comes down to you personally, right?
Right.
I think if you look, again, depends how far you want to cast your eye back. Like, I'm an unashamed nerd, so beer history is absolutely my jam. And you know, back a couple of hundred years ago, a few hundred years ago, they were putting all kinds of shit in beer. A lot of it really not good for you. And even further back, you know, beer and fermented beverages were meant to be getting closer to God or gods, and there would have been psychedelics, there would have been all kinds of weird, wonderful stuff in there, for sure. So, but I guess, you know, moving further forward, if you brought a Finnish person that loves Sahti, like the sort of native Finnish beer, or someone in Poland or in Slavic countries that has a pivo grodziski, which is, you know, like a smoked sour wheat beer, then, you know, and you gave them a spontaneously fermented Belgian lambic, you know, they would all go, this is just really weird. And if you gave either of those beers to someone who was a bitter drinker, like my dad, you know, they'd all say this is super weird. So I guess it depends where your starting point is. You know, but certainly I love the fact that people are embracing and not being afraid to try new things in beer, because, you know, in discovery is where possibilities and opportunities arise, for sure.
And definitely, like, this type of beers could work potentially better and easier in restaurants rather than our classic pub or our classic, I don't want to say classic tap room or classic bottle shop. There is a classic definition for them. But I see restaurants being able to embrace a bigger range of beers. And I have in mind Brigadiers in central London rather than St. John's, for example. how do you see that? Like, would
Yeah.
you?
I mean, I think so. Again, my sort of, what the first brewery I worked at was a brewery called Nomad in Australia that were part owned by Birra del Borgo,
Yep.
from Italy, and they like the Italians are very, very good at. And I don't know if you're leading me with this question because I'm going to talk about it. Big up the Italians, but no. So many people, when you talk to them, whether it's Leonardo da Vincenzo, or any of the other sort of really amazing legendary, like Teo Musso, all those guys, they don't think about beer. They think about beer and food. They think about brewing this beer, what's going to go with it. And I have to say, I think it's something that we in the British public have probably underutilized. I've got into so many arguments with sommeliers about whether beer is a better pairer for food than wine. And unquestionably it is. Like, I'm going to say that. But I think 4 ingredients, no matter how lovingly you prepare one and you age it in barrels or whatever else, it gives more possibilities. And that's not including any adjuncts that you choose to put in it as well. So just the breadth of the potential flavor combinations is so much broader. And so, yeah, I think, as you were saying, you mentioned 2 fantastic outlets that are doing it well. I'd like to see it done more. I think, I can understand that there is an inclination for people when they're at restaurants, if they want to have something more expensive or a little bit more fancy, they'll choose the wine. But then I think that comes down to the in-house staff, to try and get people to change that. And, whether that's tasting menus, degustation options. Now, I realize that sets it at quite a high bar, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can be doing a set menu and someone brings out and they go, hey, by the way, we've got this beer. We've got a little sample of it here. Just try it. And if you do that to 10 tables, I can guarantee you that at least 4 or 5 of those are going to go, hey, well, it's a Wednesday. We're out on the date here. Why don't we go with the suggestion? And that just starts to change the way the people look at it. And when I was in Australia, when I was in America, you see it to the extent that the chef and the front of house stuff and the guy that's choosing the beers and the sommelier, they work together to the point that they'll even use yeast culture from the beers in yogurt and the menu. They'll use spent grains and spent hops. So there's this lovely kind of circular kind of oneness that comes from the menu, where the beer and the food are working together in really good harmony. And there's all kinds of possibilities for contrast and harmonization that goes along with that. So yeah, I this is probably the worst time in a long time for me to be having a go at London restaurateurs. But if and when we do get back to something of normality, I would like to see, within reason, a little bit more adventurousness and a bit more boldness with it.
Dan, most of the bottle shops I had a chat with, and even breweries, told me that in these days, the orders that they're receiving are the widest type of orders you can even think. I remember Indie Beer, basically it was early April, and he told me, Owen from the shop told me that people in Holloway Road and in North London in general were ordering through the shop all sorts of beverages. Some big Belgians, thin beers, table beers. He managed to ask few people why, what was the reason behind that. And they said to him, because they had time to explore and they had time to cook at home. So they were looking for the right beverages to, go well with the food that they were doing with. And probably because for the first time, I'm lucky enough, I don't have to wait for a crisis like that to drink with my wife. But I'm sure some people start to drink beer for the first time with housemates, wives, family, during the last 2 months.
Absolutely. I mean, these are not, and these aren't absolutely, and these aren't dissimilar things, right? Beer and food are about that sense of communality and coming together and sharing. It's one of the things I love about the beer industry. Yes, of course you get people that, might have, a high opinion of themselves and might be a bit difficult to work with. But generally speaking, it's such a involving and like accepting kind of brotherhood and sisterhood. You know, that you look at what like the guys like Little Earth Project are doing, like Duration are doing, so many others that I'm not thinking about at the moment because I'm on a live stream and I can't think of anymore. But you know, it's that sense of family, of communality, of coming together, of breaking bread. You know, and yeah, I think when you break down those barriers, people are less likely to go, oh no, I don't want that. I don't want to try that. You know, no, I've ordered this, but you know, that's not the kind of thing I like. So I think you know, so there's a wonderful synergy there, and yeah, we should definitely go and experiment. Like Garrett Oliver, you know, his book, the you know, Anthony Bourdain. I know so many brewers. Have you got it? I was going to reach. There you go. Oh well, absolutely.
What about? I mean,
the Brewmaster's Table, and yeah, and obviously, you know, Hot Bloods Black, great book as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. You know, this and it really is so rewarding. You know, it's one thing when you get into beer and you can start picking out certain flavors, but you really get to understand them when you start playing them off against other ones or building layers of flavor. And you know, I sound a bit highfalutin when I'm saying this. It's probably the curry beer kicking in, but it doesn't have to be fancy. You know, that's the great thing about it. You can get those simple combinations that just blow your fucking mind and come out of nowhere. And you know, that's it. Like, I mean, the other beer that I was tempted to open was this one. So, have you had it? Oh my God, do I love this beer so much, right? Like, this is an occasion where that beer, so it's called Fast and Furious, it's by De Molen. It's a gin barrel-aged barley wine with orgeat. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that properly, but it's a sort of cherry almond syrup. And I was actually, so you know Tom Beer Farts that I live with?
Yep.
You know, we were having, like last week, we were having a like a little dinner, community dinner together. And the thing that my girlfriend's been getting me onto me recently is amaretto sours. I'm loving them so much. And I was saying, like, wouldn't it be great to make a beer that's a bit like an amaretto sour? Not realizing that I had that in my fridge the whole time. If you like amaretto, if you like cherries, if you like almonds, if you like marzipan, this is phenomenal. But I would say even if you don't, there's a lot of things in that beer that you look at and go, that shouldn't work.
No, it sounds...
That's not right. But that is a 12% beer, 11.2% beer, that if you kept serving that to me and I didn't realize it was, I would be having, yeah, a really, really good and then a really bad time very quickly because it's so drinkable.
I'm trying to get Daniele from Aura Brewing to brew Amaretto Kolsch from so long. Then I had to say public it right now just because I want him to brew it. And you know, it's like, it's one of these things. I'm a beer drinker, I'm a food, you know, enthusiast. I want to have the best out from both. So I'm trying to, you know, squeeze flavors and everything that could potentially work. Plus, lots of experience that maybe people have at home. Like my grandma used to put lots of amaretto on top of pineapples when I was really young. And, you know, eating it out from the fridge and with a fork. It was cold, it was fizzy, it was very, very nice and bubbling in my mouth. So, zap, it starts in the head, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of brewers should have Nonnas as a consultant in terms of flavor profiles. It would be a wonderful world if you'd be like, let's just go over to our chief flavor consultant, Nonna Maria from Tuscany. What do you think? Oh well, you know, it would be an amazing world.
My grandma still cooking. She's probably around. I think she's probably 88, and sometimes she just grabs spoons of random things. The most random one, she's like, if she knows what is inside that spoon, she's gonna tell you straight away. No, a second, man. And yes, she's a consultant. I'm telling you.
I think that would be amazing. You reminded me though, when I was at Billy's Beer Fest, probably one of my beers of the festival was a beer that Alvin made, which was a burnt, like a scorched pineapple Berliner Weiss. And it's one of those ones. It had some other adjuncts in it. I can't remember where, you know, it's like with Alvin and DeMol and a lot of these ones where you go, this is going to go so right, or it's going to be complete drain pour. You know, they bring it in. And I don't say that as an insult to them. I say that as, you know, that's, I guess that's one of the things about it, right? If you are charting new territory and you're doing things differently, you have to accept the fact that occasionally you're going to have ones that most people are going to go, nope, 1,000 times nope. But when you get it right, oh my God. And this was, it's a burnt pineapple Berliner Weiss with something else. I can't remember. It might have been cinnamon or something, but my God, it was incredible. Yeah.
And you know, again, I would love to, you know, have an idea about how we're going to be able to, you know, re-enjoy all of these experiences together rather than just do it at home, which is fine. But I'm always miss some bits because I'm always drinking with people. I'm always drinking with, you know, other friends and colleagues and everything. So, you know, getting closer to the time that Instagram is going mad and just being like, whoop, 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 whoop. How are we going to be able to see Ta Kill the Cat again with you?
Good question. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, so for those that don't know, we took the decision probably 2 weeks into, as an essential service, which I think is absolutely right, took the decision to close. And that was mainly based on the fact that I live down here in Clapham. You know, you were saying about South versus North. I'm definitely a big South London, you know, beer aficionado. But, you know, going from Clapham to Brick Lane every day and the safety of the other staff as well, that quite understandably had been very worried about it. We chose the decision to close. So we're at the moment, we're I guess like everyone else, we're in the planning phase. We're going to open bigger and better, obviously with an emphasis on online and click and collect. I think, you know, in terms of sharing beers together, there are a number of different kind of online tasting strategies, potentially a bit like this, that we're looking at, because that communal aspect is so important in what we do. But also when things do start to get relaxed a little bit, we will be able to have a very small number. You've been to our place. It doesn't hold many in the first place. So, you know, we can probably have a socially distancing, safe space where we can have 1 or 2 people enjoying beers at some point. But for us, we're going to relaunch bigger and better, new website, you know, better delivery options, and still staying true to that essence of curiosity. I think that's something that we've been very mindful of, about how we weave that in an unobtrusive and not gimmicky way to our improved website. So yeah, I would say you're going to be seeing some exciting announcements in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Lovely.
And then, you know, we'll go from there. But yeah.
It's just a shame because with the summer, I was already, you know, like visualize to be together at the, you know, network markets where you open your shit and, you know, place and just enjoy potentially, you know, the sitting area in the middle of the market, having the music up there and just, you know, having some pizza or food, wherever, and then drink beer from you, which is, I can wait. It's fine. I mean, you know,
we're looking forward to that as well, man. Like, we're really looking forward to it. I mean, we got the space. It kind of, you know, we were and still are, you know, thinking about expansion, spreading the gospel of the Cap further and wider. And the nettle market opportunity came about fairly organically. You know, something where we were given a pretty good deal on, and we saw an area that, you know, there's some great breweries around there, but was a little bit underutilized when it came to bottle shops.
Yep.
But yeah, we're gutted. You know, as you say, it's such a nice vibe down there, and there's some great people all around. Yeah, we can't wait for that to come back as well. I think, unfortunately, that's probably going to be later than our original Cap on Brick Lane, just because that's, you know, we're going to have a more centralized operation.
100%.
But no, it's still part of the plans. And yeah, as you say, it's one of the, I don't know whether it's a cruel irony or a gift of kindness from the gods that it's been such insanely good weather this whole time. But yeah, we have been thinking about what could have been on Nettle Market by now, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Especially because you got all the numbers right to, you know, again, create curiosity. You're not the people that works with you. Knowledge is just immense. It's just endless, and then the enthusiasm and everything. And I don't want to just say one thing, but we got, I mean, 20 people watching this. Consequentially, probably some people came, some people went, and then keep going. So it definitely, people like to see you and listen from you, which it's a declaration. We need you. We need the cat. And two more questions that I really like to share with everyone. And definitely the first one has to be, when all of these will get better and we will be able to drink somewhere, where it will be, where are you going to be for your first pint? In a pub. I know.
I'm so disappointing with this. But actually, I'm going to say it with pride. I'm going to go straight down to Lewis in Sussex and drink the Harvey's Brewery Dry. I'm an old man by heart. You know, we inhabit this world of very contemporary beer making. But you know, one of the real things that drove me back to the UK from Australia was cask beer. Oh my God, I've had murderous thoughts about cask beer since this has happened. And so there is an informal group already that have said, as soon as the brewery tap opens, or as soon as Miles is happy to show us around, we will be going straight down there. I mean, you know, live in Clapham, so it's a nice, easy 40 minutes.
Yep.
But no, but you know, if other than that, my selfish reasons, I'm sure that if it's not that, my first beer will be where good people are, my friends are, and when we are able to share that space again and come together with a beer, that's the one that I'm looking forward to.
Thank you very much for this. I was waiting for it, but it makes sense. Again, everyone have memories and everything, connected within beer and things. But I was expecting a answer like this from you, definitely. Okay. And the other one that is really, really painful as well, because we have to ask about that, is what is, in your opinion, the short, mid-term future for London beer, brewery, pubs?
Beer, breweries, pubs. Okay. I think obviously it's contingent on so many factors. But what I'm hoping, in this fucking R and all that, all that with notwithstanding, if things keep going the way that we're hoping, I can see for beer generally, there being a much bigger focus, obviously, on click and collect and delivery. For breweries, I think, online beer deliveries, hopefully being able to open up tap rooms, or at least have some sort of service where people can safely enjoy a beer in the hopefully fleeting summer sunshine, is very important. It's probably not going to be an easy or good story for a little while. It's probably I don't think anyone knows how it's going to play out, and certainly for pubs, I worry. I love British beer culture and pubs. Just absolutely, it's so part of my being, and I just love it. Like, I came back from Australia because I missed it, the old man pub and that culture, and I worry about that. I think if you're a smaller venue that has an outdoor space, if it makes sense for you to open, great. My concern is that if you're a bigger place in an area of higher rent, of course you can have the government and people telling you to open up again, but if it doesn't make sense and it's going to actually hasten a demise, then it shouldn't be done. So I'd like to be positive. I think if everything goes down, I'd still love to think that I'm going to have my pint of cask or my my beers with friends before the summer's out. Nice. But I think obviously we have to stay safe, and we have to do this properly. I think like as pissed off as everyone is about this situation, the idea of it all happening again is just so much worse. So yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, I'd love to go and on a big high and say, yeah, we'll be, you know, drinking pints of dippers in the next couple of months. But I think we have to do it properly. We have to do it sensibly. And in the meantime, those that are able to, you know, and that's what I've seen is amazing, you know, in terms of people doing beer deliveries and takeaway services. Support your local breweries, support your local pubs, those that can do it. You know, please make decisions. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love going into M&S or the supermarkets and getting, you know, 3 beers for £5. But think about the legacy that we're leaving here and the people that we're supporting and the jobs that you're saving when you think long and mid-term.
100%. Well, yeah. Again, for me is this is what I heard from most of us, and you know, we're all buying beers right now, the beer that we like. There are good 5 points best beers are sold in mini kegs, and you know, you can find good products, but most of, you know, people within the industry said just missing the social aspect of the where we are part of, and the places where all of that happened, like the real theater. So yeah, let's try to well behave and not doing as much as people in parks probably right now in Finsbury Park and in Clatham's doing. But hey,
absolutely. No, I mean, you know, I mean, that's it. I think there are some incredible people that work in beer, and it's going to need all of their talents and all of their resolve to keep things going, and things aren't going to be great for a little while, but there will, as always, be pockets of light and happiness in the darkest times, and I think that's where you'll find beer drinkers.
You planning to finish your Thai coconut beer? Or
hey, I finished it long ago. I get nervous on these things.
I got a bit more in here, and I think I'm going to need to have some interesting Asian inspired food tonight. If the wife don't bring me out to have a run, because this seems to be the plan for the next hour, which is like, oh, well, anyway. Can I thank you with all my, you know, my heart for being part of this. I like to talk with you, and I can see, and I hope everyone can see that. And Daniel is not just a beer expert; he's a real, you know, showman and entertainer, because you are. And that's the reason, because most of the people choose to spend evenings and afternoons with you at the Kill the Cat, and we miss you and we want to get back to the shop.
Thank you, mate. That's beautiful and kind words. And obviously it couldn't be more reciprocated. We can't wait to get back to doing what we do best.
Nice.
You know, as you know, we have some incredible regulars and people from all kinds of professions that come in, and I miss that melting pot. I miss that. And obviously, yeah, you know, big love and shout out to everybody that's wherever they are, and hopefully see you back in the Cat for a weird beer soon.
Yeah. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. Be safe, and send me a message if you find any mad beers and we should drink together, because maybe we can have another go, because it seems very successful and, you know, very enjoyable.
Sounds perfect, mate. And I'll send you that link of the me with the Chinese lady, so you can have a really good laugh. And good luck with your missus, because she's going to give you a bollocking after this for saying about the hairstyle. So good luck with that.
I see her just watching me hard over there. So
the hard stare. Lovely to see you, brother.
All the best. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.